I was actually talking to this guy named Asher Meza, and some of y'all probably know him because he's an anti-missionary. But I actually like the guy as a person, you know. I mean, I didn't agree with him religiously whatsoever. You know, I really did not. I really did not agree with him on religion, or on the scripture, on the Bible, or anything like that. But I liked him as a human being, as a person. You know, just like you might run into someone on the street and like them. I thought he was pretty cool, and pretty intelligent, misdirected but still intelligent. But anyways, when I first met him, he told me that he liked girly girls. So I was like, okay. I really didn't take it that personal at the time. I thought he just meant that he liked, you know, feminine girls. And I don't have a problem with that. You know, I can appreciate femininity, and I can even appreciate girly girlness to an extent because, you know, obviously my daughters do pageants, and they do cheerleading and gymnastics and dance, and they're very girly. And you know, whenever I found out that I was having a daughter, I was certain that I was having a son, and in my mind I was having a boy. And when I found out I was having a girl, I was pretty devastated. And I just remember thinking, what am I gonna do with a girl? And pink frilly things and all this, and I was just like, you know, I was pretty devastated. But of course, when my daughter was born, I loved her to death. I mean, she changed my whole world overnight. And it's kind of funny because I wasn't really like a person that took a pregnancy seriously, you know. I had a baby in my stomach for 9 months, and I really didn't think much about it. Honestly, I didn't really prepare or have too many thoughts about it. But once my daughter was born, like my life changed like overnight, you know. My priorities changed, everything changed, and you know, ever since my kids were born, they have been my first priority. So, but anyways, back to that, you know, I really thought I was having a boy, and I had brothers, so, you know, I just never dreamed that I would have a girl, really. But the thing is that it's been fun, you know, and the girly girl stuff has been fun, you know. I do all my kids' makeups for their pageants, and I do their hair, and, you know, pageant dress shopping is probably the funnest thing in the whole world. I love picking out pageant dresses and all this stuff. So anyways, what I'm saying is I can definitely appreciate the girly girl side of things. I guess the problem was that when I got to talk to Asher Mesa more, and I got a more clear definition of what he was talking about, he says that he didn't like girls that know how to do anything, and he doesn't like girls who know anything about anything. So in my mind, it was just like he likes stupid girls whose brains detached, who don't know how to do anything. And that just like hit me so hard because, you know, because my whole life has been a struggle of being pushed down. Because my whole life has been a struggle of being, you know, pushed down and pushed down and pushed down, and guys trying to make me stupider than I am. Guys trying to manipulate me, insulting my intelligence, always expecting me to be weaker than I am. And it's like I've actually had like a major, like most of my life was a major identity crisis. And I really got to this place where I was just like, why, God? Why did you make me a girl? Why would you make me something so horrible? Why would you do this to me? Why would you create me with intelligence? Why would you create me with a desire to learn, and a desire to, you know, to figure out how to do things, and a desire to want to go to new heights? Why would you do this to me? Why didn't you just make me a stupid, brainless creature? Why are you torturing me? And I just didn't understand. You know, and there was that video about what is it, like housewives or something like that. There was some movie that came out, I think it had Bette Midler in it, where like the men were like taking their wives and like turning them into machines that, you know, said all the right things perfectly and basically did anything that a man wanted. And they weren't really no longer real human beings. So I guess the idea was like, you know, just to detach the brain and the emotions and just create a woman who has the physical body and says what you want. And I guess I could relate to that because, you know, throughout life you do meet men who want that, and they constantly are just, you know, they act surprised when you know how to do something, as if you're supposed to be stupid. And they act surprised when you catch on to their little games that they play, like you're not supposed to know. And, you know, surprised that if you can play sports or just, and just it makes you feel so bad, you know, so bad. And and like I said, I really got to the point where I was just asking God, you know, why did you even make me? Why do I even exist? And I had this huge hang up with God, because on one hand, I read the scripture and I loved the God that I seen, you know what I mean? I loved the God that I seen presented in scripture. I loved all of his attributes. You know, I love righteousness and justice and compassion and mercy. But then there was this little part of God that was like some kind of male chauvinist or something, that expected females to be stupid and incapable and weak, and I didn't comprehend it. I just couldn't comprehend why, how am I a person here? You know, I'm a human being, and I have these desires to learn and to know and to search and to be diligent about things, and to always be learning here and learn there, and to be able to do things. Of course, I want to get better and I want to go to new heights, and I just didn't understand it. Like, why would you give me these desires and this capability if I'm supposed to be limited? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm supposed to be so stupid and so incapable, why would you create these desires in me? Why are you torturing me? And you know, the way God answered me on this issue was that he like opened my eyes to show me my own life, you know, and he showed me that, you know, even back from, you know, when I was a little kid, that it was him that was pushing me always, that it was him that was always taking me to new heights, and that, you know, it was him that was always increasing my capacity and pushing me, taking me new places, expanding my horizon. And you know, it was him the whole time, that it was him that was forming me and making me. And I learned that that's why I loved him, you know what I mean? That's why I love God so much, because he took the time to do that for me. He was the one that took the time to train me and to prepare me and to push me to new heights, and he was never satisfied with just letting me be stupid and incapable and weak and all these things, you know. And then, you know, my life is, you know, everything that I am is because he made me this way, you know. And it wasn't, you know, it's being forged in the fire, you know. It's not some kind of easy thing. It's, you know, it's not some kind of easy thing. It's, you know, 20 years of customized, detailed work of him making me exactly who I am. I learned something about God. I learned that he's a gentleman, and I also learned that he's very, very nice, and that he does not limit his creatures. He has no desire whatsoever to limit his creatures in intelligence and capability and capacity. And by all means, he's the exact opposite of that. He is a God that wants to take you places. He wants to show you great things. He wants to give you the capacity to understand things. And so, you know, God is awesome. He really is. Now, you have to be real careful about what human beings want and what God wants, because those are two very different things. Now, human beings are very much about oppression, pushing people down, trying to make people stupider, incapable, or less capacity. And that's because human beings want to control other human beings. Much like during slavery, they didn't want black people to read. They didn't want black people to know much about anything or know how to do anything. They just wanted subservient creatures who would do the task without thinking and without, you know, questioning. and all these things. So that's why reading was forbidden during slavery. It was forbidden to teach a black person how to read. But, you know, that's human beings. Human beings like to use other people. So the greatest way to use another person is for them not to be able to think and not to have know-how. But, you know, with God, it's just not the awesome. With God, it's just, well, with God, it's a totally different thing. And, you know, when you read in Jeremiah, it says, "Call to me and I will answer you, and I will show you great and unsearchable things which you did not know." Do you think God's going to discriminate against one creature who just happens to be a female, but, you know, possesses all the other human qualities? You know, the desire to know, the ability to process information, you know, strength and weakness, capacity, all these things, but just because she's a woman, sorry, you have to be stupid. Sorry, you can't go beyond the ceiling. Sorry, you're not allowed to learn how to do that. You know, all these things. You think God is gonna really deny someone just because they are female? That has to do with human beings, because human beings are insecure. But God, you know, He's not insecure. He wants people to know Him. He wants people to search for Him, and you know, it's His greatest pleasure to be able to find someone who actually wants to know truth, so He can give it to them, because He's got, you know, unsearchable things, things that, you know, the eye has not seen and the ear has not heard, that He is just waiting to give to somebody, but He can't give it to them because they don't have the desire. The desire is not there. They don't care. They don't value those pearls. And you know, you just can't really give someone a gift that they don't want and they don't appreciate. So, you know, when you read in Chronicles, I think it's 2nd Chronicles, it says God searches the whole earth, you know, to and fro, looking for a heart that is loyal to Him. So that's what God is looking for. Now, as far as our little gender roles, in this life we have gender roles. And I've done a lot of research on this throughout my life over the last 20 years, because it's been a serious problem for me. And I've had a lot of issues with the topic. And I'll tell you the end results of what the conclusion I've come to is that it's not degrading to respect your husband. And it's not degrading for a husband to love his wife. And these are just two sides of the same coin. One is just a little more of one thing, and one is a little more of the other thing. But they're all related to respect and honor. The only difference is that men and women have different needs. And a man needs to be treated as a king. He needs to be respected by his family. That's because he is the head of the household. And God has personally given him the job to take care of his family, his wife and his kids. So he obviously needs to be respected. A wife needs to know that she is loved. When you deprive a person, when you deprive a man of respect, and when you deprive a woman of knowing that she is loved, it's just gonna create really bad problems. It's gonna create serious problems in your marriage. And it's only because men and women are just a little bit different and they just have needs based on what they were designed to do. And, you know, the only reason that there is this design is because God created us to have children and to raise godly children. In order to have a functioning unit, you have to have separation of roles. And the only reason is because nobody can take on the full load and do all the jobs and do it effectively. So when you have a husband who is the head of the household, make sure that everything is in line with the family, and has that major role, it allows the wife to do the more detailed roles, because she doesn't have to be caught up in being the major disciplinarian and being the major person who is watching the flock, the family flock. She doesn't have she doesn't have to be the major disciplinarian. She doesn't have to be the head of the household. She doesn't have to, you know, have the bird's eye view and make sure everything's in line and take the responsibility for everything. So it allows her to focus on the detailed things, which is what a woman is naturally good at. You know, taking care of the kids, teaching the kids, um, taking care of the home, taking care of her husband, being a helpmate, all these more detailed, finer detailed things. It frees a woman up to be able to do these things. But anyways, you have those division of roles, and it creates an effective system. You also have, you know, when the man works and is the breadwinner, then, you know, the woman doesn't have that kind of pressure and stress, so she is free to take care of the kids and clean the house and cook dinner and all these home-based responsibilities, which are they're no more. It's not a degrading thing. Obviously, when you have a home, it needs to be taken care of, and you can't do it and work a full-time job. You know, you can't be at home teaching your kids and be at the office. So, you know, there's the division of labor because nobody can do all these tasks, and I'm proof of that because I'm a single parent, and I've been a single parent my whole life, and it's hard. And, you know, honestly with me, I'll tell you what I do. Sometimes I go hard on one thing, and then I get tired and I neglect it, and I go hard on the other thing. But my life is actually really, it's imbalanced in a way. And that's because I don't have the energy to do all of these tasks. So I do them to the point of it getting exhausted, I guess. And there's times I totally neglect things, you know. And I get by. And I do a pretty good job, but I would never recommend it because it's not a total efficient system. It's a get by system, and do your best that you can and try to play both roles. Try to be a mom and a dad. Try to make money and do all the home tasks and raise the kids. And you know, honestly, it sucks. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. I mean, and when I hear people complaining about, you know, these separations of labor, or when I hear women complaining about not being able to work, I honestly think they're crazy because, you know, I love being a mom, and if someone would go to work and pay all my bills and I would not have to worry about anything, and I could just be a mom all day long and do my, you know, my pageants with my kids and their, you know, cheerleading and soccer and all these things, schoolwork, this is the stuff I love doing. So, hey, if someone would pay for it, that would be great. You know, but as it is now, I have to come up with all the money for all these things. I gotta come up with the time for all these things, and there's kind of an imbalance there because, you know, making money takes time, and being able to do all these other things takes time, and there's only so much time in a day. So anyways, it's tough. It's tough, and I probably have the greatest life in the whole world in that my priorities are real funny, and I've most women who are like me, single parents, are not going to try to have the quality of life that I have as a mother, but, you know, I've kind of like couldn't live without it, and I needed to be the best mother in the world and be able to do all these other things, you know, be the soccer mom and all this stuff. So I've made it like a huge priority in my life, and God has actually made it happen for me so I can actually do it. Not easy, but I've been able to do it. So it's still hard though. It's still hard. And I do get exhausted. That's why, you know, there's times I just go into total neglect mode where I neglect everything because I just get totally out of energy. And that's how I deal with it. I just go into hibernation mode. And sometimes, that's why sometimes in my life I'm like super irresponsible with things. But anyways, what I wanted to say is that, you know, it's not degrading, and when you have when a man, God designed a man and a woman to be joined as one person, and when a man and woman become one person, you are one person. So there is no reason to degrade the other half of you. There's not. It's not degrading to place your man up and elevate him, or or respect him and all these things, it's not degrading because he's part of you, and obviously you want to elevate that part of you. And it's not degrading for a man to honor his wife because, that's part of you, and you want to honor that part of you, and you want to love that part of you. You want to give that part of you what they need. And, Adam was originally created with Eve inside of him, and then they pulled it out and made two separate people. Well, not they, but God pulled the rib out and made two separate people. But, when you're married, you still have one unit. But, this person needs more of something and this person needs something else. So you obviously, feed that person what they need so they can function at their best and they can function in their role. And you want everyone in your family unit to be able to do their best in their role and to have what they need. You don't want to deprive people of what they need. And you want the whole unit to run as it's supposed to run so you could bring honor to God, because your end task is to bring honor to God and to raise godly children who will bring honor to God. So when your end goal is about God and not about you and what you want and your needs and this total selfish feed me Seymour syndrome, then you're going to do whatever. Then you're going to do whatever you need to do and sacrifice what you need to sacrifice, to be that godly family, all the way down the ranks, a system that is functioning all the way down the ranks, the husband that is under God, the wife that is under the husband, the children that are under their parents. It's a system, and when everyone is functioning correctly, it's like an upward stepping stones kind of. So anyways, there's nothing degrading about it. But one last thing I'll talk about, there's a difference between a dominant male and a insecure male. And a dominant male is very insecure, his own strength and his own intelligence and his own know-how. So he has no need to try to make his wife stupid, try to make his wife incapable. He has no need to perpetually degrade down and break down and all these things. That's a dominant male. When you got a real insecure male who is not secure in who he is, then he has to constantly make his wife stupider than him and more incapable than him, in the constant breakdown, because that's the only way he can feel intelligent, capable, smart, strong, and all these things, by breaking the woman down. So that's not good. It's a little worrisome when you see this. I'd recommend staying away from an insecure man, because they don't know how to do nothing but break people down. But there's nothing wrong with a dominant man. There's nothing wrong with a manly man. And women like manly men. I like manly men. So, when you have a manly man or a dominant man, it allows a woman to take on a more feminine role, honestly. That doesn't mean that we're going to be stupid, but we may, pretend to be stupid a little bit so you can feel better about yourself.